Hello and welcome to the GameShop Podcast. This is the pre-pilot episode, as I'm going to be calling it, where we're going to be outlining what we plan on doing with this podcast. My name's Adam.
And I'm Ryan.
So Ryan, when I posed this idea for you, what do you think we're going to be doing with this podcast?
I was thinking that we were just going to be talking about video games and whatnot. I don't know what you had in mind, but I'm down for anything.
You know, you're actually right in that, because to kind of explain where the name comes from, it's sort of an amalgamation or a combination of the expression talking shop, which comes from when people just talk about either a domain or a topic that they're like well versed in. You know, like let's say a couple construction workers talking about how they do things at work. That's a sort of example of talking shop.
Yep.
So the name partially comes from that. It also partially comes from a memory that I recall back when I was in high school. I was really into the game Final Fantasy III for the Nintendo DS, which will be one of our first episodes. Yes. But at the time, I really got into the game, and I just was practically obsessed with it and talking about it all the time. And as a result of that, even though it wasn't my intent, I inadvertently caused two of my friends to both buy this game and start playing it. Including
myself, I believe. I think it's like right there in my closet.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, I think you were one of the people I sort of converted to the game. So.
Even though if I didn't even know what I was doing half the time, because it was just at the edge of when I was starting to learn how to read.
Yeah, so I figure, I don't know about you, but a lot of the time I really get into a game and I just want to talk about it nonstop and really like get into like geeking out about it. But you know, sometimes you can't find a time to really bring that up or squeeze into a conversation. So I figure, you know, this podcast would be a good outlet or a good opportunity to do that with each other and perhaps other people we know. The other thing I'd like to accomplish with this podcast would be to try something new, kind of get out of my comfort zone.
Yep.
Ryan, you've been involved with
many different things.
Yeah, you've been involved with people online in our communities, and that's something I've kind of always wanted to do. Yeah. And so hopefully you'll help me
even expand out, including myself, which even just me starting my own YouTube channel myself.
Yeah, exactly.
It just gives you something to work on, something to focus on, gives you something to do, and really I've gotten to the point where I have so many things going on that's it's so hard to manage where I want to spend my time.
Yeah, and that's something that I've always kind of wanted to get involved with, but I never really known how to get my foot in the door, so to speak. So hopefully, if this takes off, you know, I can.
You have something to work at and something to think about and try to work at and whatnot.
Yeah,
it's just a project.
Exactly, and worst comes to worst, I'm not expecting
anything big.
Yeah, I don't have grand expectations of this. Not that I'm trying to set us up for failure.
Yeah.
That's just not my goal. It's more
just having fun.
It's more of a hobby and trying something new.
Exactly.
At the same time, most of the people whose work I admire never set out with the goal of becoming famous. No. And I feel like I've heard that that's sort of a counterintuitive way of achieving a widespread success. It's a lot of the successful people I follow started off just doing something because they like it.
That's exactly what it is. If you do something that you like doing and whatever, and you just keep going at it without expecting anything, then you really you'll go farther than someone who's trying to put all their effort into one single thing. I know Scotty, my brother, tried making a YouTube channel, I think himself. He played whatever CSGO montages or something. No joke, that's what he did for a year or something, and then just gave up.
Really? He just gave up?
Yeah, and I think he even he used to live stream Twitch things, and then he just nope.
I feel like I remember you talking about him live streaming, but I never really put two and two together that he was doing it for a YouTube channel or anything.
Yeah, that's what he was doing, and then he was and he tried making a Steam group and stuff. He spent one summer 2 years ago doing that, and then after that it's he just stopped, and it was alright. That's what happens with most what people usually do with new channels and whatnot. They want to go big and then they just stop because it's they don't get
Yeah, I could definitely relate to the whole going big thing. I mean, as I said before, you currently do a lot of art, online art stuff, and before you did that, I used to have a DeviantArt account that I used to post to. But then as my life got a bit more busy, so to speak, and
chaotic and whatnot, you sort of just deviated away from it, right?
Haha, deviated away.
I know.
I got to a point where I would look at it and just the thought of, because I was never a fast artist or fast worker with my artwork, so So usually when I had an idea for something, it would be a significant time investment.
Yep.
And it got to a point where I'd look at that and be like, I want to do that, but I don't have time for that. And
so it's like a lack of motivation.
Yes, I sort of lacked motivation. I also just sort of grew away from it. Like I haven't really done a lot of that sort of artwork.
Yeah, I noticed like even over the years, like you used to do that like all the time on your old laptops and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I just got way too invested in my own characters and universe that, like you said, I wanted to go big, and I got way too...
You got too eager and like...
I got too eager and sort of consumed by that. So I feel like what I need is to step away from that and just try something that I'm not... So that I haven't built up so big, and just do something a bit easier. I mean, granted, this itself is going to be a whole time sink, just sound editing.
And even just like learning like how to edit it, how to even just go about your future episodes, like just developing like a natural way of talking is going to be like something that will take time.
Yeah, but at the same time, I am very, very underexperienced when it comes to sound editing. But I feel that it's one of those things that over time I'll kind of pick up, and I also feel like sound editing is a sort of different experience where when you're doing artwork, it's entirely visual, so you need to really achieve what you have
desire in your mind.
Yeah, what you need to really achieve what you have in your mind's eye, whereas sound editing,
like how you shape the whole overall like length of audio and how you edit it and how you make it like appealing over time is like something you can learn.
I think what I'm trying to say is this isn't to trivialize sound editing because it's a whole complex industry.
Yeah, I know, it's freaking crazy. I've tried doing things and it's like, oh my god, audio's a pain in the butt.
But like with audio, I feel you can kind of get away with just knowing how to clip things and layer them on top of each other. Whereas with art, you can't quite just paste things like over top. Otherwise, it's either gonna look like a terrible clip art thing, or you'll just get called out for being a hack of just using copy paste art assets,
tracing and whatnot.
But then again, like tracing is as someone who, like, I started off just tracing things that I like.
It's great to learn the basics and everything.
Yeah, it's great for learning certain things, but
when you want to do it by yourself and everything, then that takes time, and you need to really spend lots of time.
Yeah.
Time is your best friend when it comes to anything. Time and experience.
Oh my god, but yeah, if only I had that time.
What's going on? Like we really deviated right from the start. It feels.
Yeah, we definitely really deviated, but I feel like that's
like awesome.
I feel like that's also something that I do want to kind of
just naturally happen in the podcast.
Yeah. So actually, before we wrap this up, so Ryan, tell me, what are your experiences with podcasts and listening to podcasts?
So the only podcast I've ever listened to was the Sleepy Kevin podcast that you introduced to me. That's like the only podcast I've ever listened to. Okay. I have no experience with anything else.
And for myself, like I've also listened to Sleepycast because, as Ryan said, I got him into Sleepycast. Other podcasts I've listened to are the Adventure Zone, The Carve, which is a Monster Hunter themed podcast, as well as the Game Grumps podcast, The G Club, which was a sort of limited run podcast, so to speak.
Oh really? I didn't even know they did it. Like a podcast.
Yeah, they did do a pod. I think they only did like 18 episodes or so.
That's still a significant number of episodes.
Having listened to like a number of podcasts, I've definitely experienced a sort of gamut of, I guess, natures of podcasting, so to speak. Like, for instance, Sleepy Cabin is, as you know, it's very free flowing. It's just a sort of like when you listen to it, it just feels like a bunch of guys, having a good time talking about whatever comes to mind. And that is a little bit of what I want to have. But other podcasts, like for instance, the G Club, was their episodes were way more topic based overall. So they would sort of get off track and talk about whatever, but mainly they'd be talking about whatever they set out to talk about. So for instance, they had an episode where they talked about a certain movie or a certain game, and that was the sort of core of the podcast. And so while I do kind of want to lean a bit more towards that, I do want to allow for
deviations and going off track or like bringing up other things.
Yeah, like,
but I mean, but like eventually coming back like full circle.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I understand what you mean.
I'm not against going off the rails, but as long as we kind of go back on the rails eventually.
Yep.
But then again, we'll see how this goes.
We'll see how it plays out in the end. It might be completely different as you envision, like in the end. Like the end results will be
Yeah, I mean, even going into this pre-pilot, we didn't really know
what the heck
what we were doing. We just sort of
you just had an idea, and now we're here.
I had 3 bullet points, and now we're here after who knows how long we've been recording for.
Yep.
All right, so thanks for joining us on this pre-pilot testing the waters episode of the GameShop Podcast. Once again, I'm Adam.
And I'm Ryan.
Anyways, thanks for joining us. Join us next time when we'll definitely be a bit more focused on talking about a specific game.
Hopefully.
See you next time.